Hey, it's Daryl with DMD Realty. Welcome to part 3 of my home buying series for first time home buyers, or if it's been a while since you bought a home. The first two parts we went over how to find a great agent, why you should work with a mortgage broker or banker, not a depository institution. The last one we went over having a budget, and also what property type you should consider buying. We're going to start off in here in the third part. We're going to talk about what age of home should you be considering. So previous years before the 2000, we've had different issues. If you're buying a home built from 1950 to 1980, give or take, you may have some boxes, four different type of breaker boxes that are an issue. The most prevalent that I've seen in homes that I've sold here in Dallas Fort Worth, the main one is Federal Pacific. Another one's called Zivsco, Sylvania, an ITE, and Bulldog Push-O-Matic. But the one I've seen the most is the Federal Pacific, and that's the one I see primarily on most inspection reports on homes built in 1980 or prior. They have a history of being a fire hazard, basically. So this is one reason you have an inspector. Have great inspectors out there, and make sure your agent gives you two or three folks to talk to you in that regard. The other thing, if your home's built 72 or before, you may have aluminum wiring, another potential fire hazard. A lot of homeowners have went in and done what's called aluminum to copper A to C, and it's supposed to help reduce the fire hazard. It is still a hazard, not a deal breaker, but just something to be aware of. The other thing, a lot of homes built in 1975 or older have cast iron plumbing, but in the Dallas Fort Worth area, I've seen homes up to 1984 with cast iron plumbing. And the issue there is with the advent of cheap steel back in the 50s to about the 80s, you had cast iron that was imported from overseas that wasn't as good as some of the cast iron now. But most homes don't have cast iron plumbing anymore. But with garbage disposal, as I learned from a plumber, the acid from the food as it hits that cast iron plumbing turns to an acid which makes that cast iron plumbing deteriorate much quicker. So what does that mean to you as a homeowner if you're buying a home with cast iron plumbing? It can cost you tens of thousands of dollars when that collapses. Now there's some tests out there, some pressure tests that plumbers do, but most homeowners won't allow it because it can cause damage. And on the form that the buyer has them sign, it says that the buyer's not responsible, but no competent listing agent is going to allow that. I've had homes I've sold that way that had cast iron plumbing. There were no issues, no leaks that we were aware of. We didn't allow that pressure test. So that's something to keep in mind. Older homes, there's also different types of foundations. You have pier and beam, which the advantage of pier and beam is we have really active soil here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So pier and beam is less expensive to mitigate foundation movement than a slab. You're less likely to have plumbing leaks with a pier and beam. It's more flexible. You can, and also when you need to run piping or electrical, you can go up under the piers and beam and route things. With the slab, if you have a crack in the foundation, you have to jack the foundation up. Potentially you're going to break some of the copper, or it may weaken it and cause future plumbing issues. So that's just something to be aware of with the slab versus pier and beam. Pier and beam homes are going to be older. They don't build them much anymore because they're expensive. But those are some other things you need to take into consideration when you're buying a home. The age of the home will matter to you. Different types of issues with different ages of home doesn't mean don't buy an older home. Just want to make you aware of that. Now, here's the next thing you need to consider when buying a home. Location is super important. And I'm not just talking about the city. Location in a neighborhood. Is it next to a noisy road? Does it back up to a commercial area? Backing up to a noisy road in a down market can cost you money, like up to 10% or more. Backing up to a commercial area in a bad market can affect the value of your home by 20% or more. In a great market like we're in, it still has effect, just not as much of an effect as in a down market. And I mentioned in the last video, you always want to have an exit plan. The other thing you want to do, you want to keep in mind is when you're going and looking at homes, look around the neighborhood, notice the general area. Do you notice anything? Do you notice any odd smells? Because there are homes built near garbage dumps, so that's something you definitely want to look for. I know there's a place in Louisville that I call Trash Mountain. You can see it. There's a place in Melissa where it's that way. There's a place in it's kind of the southern area, well, just actually north of South Garland, where there was a landfill. Water treatment. You want to look for things like lift stations in neighborhoods. I know in a neighborhood near me there's a lift station. I'd never lived in a neighborhood with one. Thank goodness it's not in mine. Let's just say it's really effervescent when you walk in that neighborhood in the morning and it's cold. And the other thing you want to notice when you're in a house, do you smell anything unusual in the home? Could be just a sign that it's not clean. It could be a sign of mold. Things like that you want to pay attention to. The other thing is schools are very important when it comes to resale value. It may not be important to you if you don't have children, but just remember, schools and location are going to drive a big part of value when it comes to resale. Some other things you want to keep in mind is what's the home close to? Is it near shopping? Is it far from shopping? Are things convenient? All things that can affect you. How far away is it from where people are going to be working? Right now we have a lot of companies moving to Dallas-Fort Worth. So it used to be if you were buying in Prosper, you're a long way from where jobs were being created. Now with all the companies moving here, there's more jobs moving that way. So that location's important. When gas prices go up, that's going to have effect on values as well. So those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about when it comes in factors where if you're going to purchase a home to consider. The next video I'm going to talk about other things to look for, structural things. These were just some of the things I wanted to mention about age and potential things